Am I the a-hole for refusing to donate my kidney to my estranged sister, even though I'm the only match, after she kept my biological daughter from me for years? Here's a backstory. I, 29 female, was a reckless teenager, got pregnant at 17, and was terrified. My parents were conservative, and my sister Alice, then 27, convinced me to let her and her infertile husband adopt my baby to keep it within the family. She made me promise not to tell anyone the child was biologically mine and to always act as the aunt. However, things spiraled out of control. They moved away when my daughter Emily was just 2, and I was only allowed minimal contact. They changed her last name, and I found out they told Emily that her biological mom had died in a tragic accident. I confronted Alice, and she said it was for the best and cut contact completely. Fast forward to last year, Emily, now 12, discovered the truth. She reached out to me, angry and confused. I tried explaining, but she's resentful towards both me and Alice. Now, Alice has severe kidney issues and needs a transplant. I'm the only match in the family. She has apologized for everything and begged me to reconsider, stating it's just not for her, but so Emily doesn't lose a mother. I'm torn. Alice's friends and our extended family have been bombarding me with messages, some understanding, some extremely hateful. Emily is conflicted and has expressed she doesn't want her mother to die, but also feels a deep-seated anger. My husband thinks I should donate to be the bigger person, but my best friend says Alice made her bed and now has to lie in it. Am I the a-hole for considering not donating my kidney after everything that's happened? Now for the top comments. Don't forget, you saying yes doesn't mean that you will be whipped into surgery tomorrow. There is an extended period of testing and counseling, which needs to be undertaken before you would get anywhere near that stage. To get the family and friends off your back, say you will consider it, but tell the medical teams that you are being guilt-tripped by the family and you don't want to do it. And they will tell the family that you aren't suitable to be a donor for other reasons. You won't be the first bullied and unwilling potential familial donor they will have seen, and you won't be the last. And depending on your age, don't forget that this is a major life-changing surgery with a lengthy recovering period. If you can't work, who is going to cover your living expenses? If there is a history of kidney disease in the close family, what would happen if you developed it later on? It's better to think of yourself first here, especially as your sister has been so awful to you for so long. Yes, do this. My understanding is you can get tested for a match. They check privately if you're being pressured. If you say yes, they'll announce you aren't a match. Double check that's how it works, but do it that way. Former dialysis nurse here. Dialysis exists for this reason. She won't be leaving Emily without a mother, so you aren't sentencing her to death if you don't donate. Please don't donate. I've had a few patients end up on dialysis years after donating one of their kidneys, and it destroyed them and their relationship with the one with their kidney. Please don't donate to be the bigger person. It is a huge surgery with possible complications. Please don't put your life at risk. I wish someone would have told me how hard it would be on my body. I regret my donation every day. Not the a-hole. Do not donate your kidney to her. You may need it for yourself one day. She didn't want you in your life before she got sick and did you wrong. She'll probably cut contact with you again and say it's for the best after you donate it to her. Please don't donate the kidney. Not the a-hole. Do not donate by all means. Between a venomous snake and her sister, I trust a snake. Next story. Am I the a-hole for donating my deceased daughter's college fund to a charity instead of giving it to my estranged son? I, 48 male, lost my daughter, 21 female last year to a rare medical condition. She was in college, and we had saved up a substantial amount for studies. The fund is around $120,000 left. My wife passed away 5 years ago, so it's just been the two of us for a while. My son, 24 male, and I have had a strained relationship for the past 6 years. He got into drugs, joined a problematic crowd, and committed several felonies. When he turned 18, after multiple attempts to help him, I had to kick him out of the house. It was the hardest decision I've ever made. Recently, he's cleaned up his act, or so he says. He's been off drugs for a year, has a job, and wants to go to college. He reached out to me, asking if he could use his sister's college fund. However, my daughter in her last days expressed a desire for the money to go to a specific charity that supports research into her condition. It was her wish, and I decided to honor it and donated the entire fund to that charity 2 weeks ago. When I informed my son of this decision, he was livid. He claims that I've chosen a dead daughter over him, and that I never cared about him at all. My relatives are divided. Some say I did the right thing honoring my daughter's last wish, while others believe I should have given my son a second chance. I'm tormented. Am I the a-hole? Either choice could be easily defended in theory, but your son's reaction suggests he needs to mature a bit more before you give him large sums of money. If you have the cash to spare, offer to fund community college once he's calmed down. That boy definitely sounds like someone who should try out a community college first to see if he can handle it before large sums of money are spent. To be honest, I wouldn't give him the cash, but I'd pay the bill statements from the college he's going to. Do not give him cash at all. This is how I feel. There's so much we don't know about the entire situation. If the son really is trying to make changes, having college paid could be the saving grace that helps him turn his life around. I agree with only paying it straight to the university, and maybe having the son complete a semester on his own to show that he's taking classes seriously and can do well. What happened to the college fund you set up for your son? Like others have stated, probably went to helping him with his many felony charges. Lawyers aren't cheap. Not necessarily if he kicked the son out at 18. If the son did enough before 18 to deserve getting kicked out at 18, he likely burned through anything that would have gone into a college fund. I have a family member who had a lot of drug issues before he turned 18, and his grandfather and his mother spent a lot on his defense. Also called in a lot of personal favors to keep him out of jail. Lawyers don't reduce their rates simply because the defendant is under 18. Yep, I have a cousin who was the favorite grandchild. My grandparents bent over backwards, and she turned out just like her plastic, abusive, druggy, demented POS mother. Before 18, she totaled not only one, but two of my grandmother's $30,000 vehicles that she's told to go see a boy, within months of each other. Grandparents hired her a very expensive lawyer who got her off all the charges. A $125,000 house was bought for her so she wouldn't have to stay in the dorms for college. She got druggy roommates, they got pets, didn't take care of them, trashed the house, failed out of college, was allowed to take over the family business. She then got the business in trouble with the Liquor Control Board, a lot of money in fine. Grandmother saw the books and just about had a heart attack. Stole our grandfather's pain meds when he was dying from cancer. She and her then boyfriend, now husband, stole tens and tens of thousands of dollars from my grandmother right after my grandfather died from a horrible battle with cancer. She then took out credit worth over $60,000 with business lenders. And oh my god, the books. That was a doozy. And the drugs they left around the place. Almost lost the business, and now after COVID, it's closed. She calls her toddler sons little bastards to their faces whenever they act out. It's on video. The father is even worse. CPS has been called multiple times, and they only made her take parenting classes. It's a joke. All this before she turned 23, and I only know like 10% of everything. So, I can see how the son could have blown through his college fund before he turned 18. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting my husband to move away and told him divorce is fine with me? I, female 40, met my husband, male 51, 5 years ago. I love him very much. He has 2 children from a previous marriage, female 14 and male 13, and I have 1, female 13. His children never liked me because they always wanted their parents to move back together. When my husband met me, that dream was crushed, and it is very understandable. I gave them space and never tried to pressure them. When we got married, we moved into my home. They changed their mind when they realized I live in a big place with a pool, etc. We have been married 2 years. My daughter's father isn't in the picture, so my daughter lives 100% with me. I found out now that my stepdaughter has been bullying my daughter for the past couple of years, calling her fat, etc. I heard her make these comments. I told my husband to pack his children's bags because I never want to see them again. Because when I confronted my stepdaughter, she just laughed at me and called me and my daughter ugly and fat. And that my daughter deserved it. Turned out, my daughter has been bullied at school too, and the head of the bullying is my stepdaughter. My husband said that I couldn't kick out his children from their home, and that he would talk to his daughter. But he never did, so I told him that I understood that I can't demand that they stay with their mother since he has custody, so I told him that he should move out. We could meet on the weeks his children are with their mom, but that I'm done trying with his children. They will never love me or my daughter, and I'm choosing my daughter. He said I was being ridiculous, and that it wasn't marriage if he should live in a separate home from me when he has children. And I said if this didn't suit him, then I wouldn't mind divorce, because I'm not gonna have his daughter near mine again. I have no problems against my stepson, but my husband made it about him too because they're a whole package, which I totally understand. I can't demand that he doesn't see his daughter, so my suggestion is for him to move out and get his own place when he has his children. I spoke to my daughter about changing schools and she seems very positive to the idea. I still try to know more details about the bullying, but you know how embarrassing that is for children to admit. I never admitted to anybody that I was being bullied, even if my parents were very loving and supportive. Maybe I was even less inclined to confess to them because of how loving and supportive they were. Now for the top comments. Your daughter's mental health, happiness, and safety should always come first. You're doing the right thing, especially if he's doing nothing to stop his daughter from bullying yours. Take care of your daughter, Opie. If he's unable to defend himself against his abusive daughter, you should file for divorce. This, Opie has to defend her daughter. Nobody else will. I'm glad Opie is putting her daughter before her husband. Opie, your daughter will never forget you standing up for her. I assure you, it will mean a ton to her. Not the a-hole. You are doing right by your daughter. At this point, I would just opt for a divorce. It doesn't sound like he intends to do anything about his daughter. He may try and drag his feet to get his own place. May try and convince you that it won't happen again. I agree. Give him a strict timeline and stick to it. If he's too lazy a parent to do something about his daughter, he's too lazy to be in his marriage. You take care of yourself and your daughter. Period. If it was me, there wouldn't even be a timeline to set. If he wants to see his daughter, I'd understand. But it wouldn't be in my home or on my property. The stepdaughter would be leaving that minute, and he could come back for his things or not. But she would never get a chance to bully my kid again. You showed your daughter just how much you value her well-being and how unacceptable your stepdaughter's behavior was. Those are powerful lessons. Not the a-hole. Well done, you. Hopefully husband will move to a different school district, so the two girls are not going to the same school. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife her brother will never live with us? My 39 male and my wife, 37 female, have been married for 13 years. The entire time I have known her, her older brother Tom, 39 male, has never held a job or lived anywhere but with her parents. As far as I have been told, he has had a couple part-time jobs that didn't last long and lived for a few months in dorms when he tried college for one semester. My wife and I were visiting her grandmother in another state along with her mother, and a conversation of what happens to Tom when the parents are no longer able to support him came up. I mentioned he needs to be pushed to get a job and become independent long before they can no longer do it for him. And my wife's grandmother said she thought the idea was that Tom would just end up moving in with us when the time came. I looked at my wife, who didn't react at all to that news, as if she already knew that was the plan. But before anyone could say anything else, I said that is never going to happen. My wife told them we haven't really discussed it and the topic was changed. Later on, she said my response was uncalled for, and to flat out refuse makes me an a-hole. Am I? Or is my not wanting to support my 39-year-old bum of a brother-in-law valid? Not the a-hole. So she 100% is going to just let him move in and play the he's family card. I would start setting it up so you can leave when this happens. I was going to suggest that Opie have the conversation now and say, if you plan to have your brother move in with us, we should get a divorce now rather than later. But Opie's wife could lie and bide her time, so he should still have that conversation and also get his act together. My fiancé has a younger brother that cannot get his act together. Gets fired within a year of every job he gets if he doesn't rage quit. Has an outrageous car payment on a piece of crap that he doesn't maintain. Is constantly asking her for money which she doesn't give him. Blames everyone and everything else for his misfortunes. And is 1 or 2 speeding tickets away from either getting arrested or becoming uninsurable. I told her that when her parents aren't around anymore, we will absolutely not be filling in for them as a support system. Thankfully, she agreed and is just as annoyed with him as I am. They're family, so she's still cordial with him. But anytime he starts complaining about his latest issue, I throw out a few jabs if only to make him aware that not everyone is going to spare his feelings, especially when most of the time he is the architect of his own misery. We bought a house last year, and the first week we were in it, he was already asking if he could rent a room from us. Thankfully, we don't have the room to rent to him. But I still made sure he knew that even if we did, there was no way in hell I'd let him live in my house. Your fiancé's brother sounds like my sister-in-law. My wife and I were so happy when she moved 3 hours away and found a weirdo to marry. We were certain she would eventually need a place to live when she ran out of dead-end jobs. Yeah, I'm with you on this. I would never support any grown adult who doesn't work simply because he's lazy. If your wife feels the need to support him, then she needs to accept that he will never live with you and you will pay nothing to help him. She needs to understand now that she will be on her own for this. If she does want to support him, then I can see this ending in divorce. I know it would be for me. Opie needs to have an emotional conversation with his wife, explaining that their marriage is between the two of them, and that a third person wouldn't be healthy. It is important to be unemotional. Even if wife agrees, Opie needs to repeat annually. I think that ship has sailed, wrecked, and sank to the bottom of the ocean. At best, she'll just tell him whatever he wants to hear, then bide her time until brother has to move in, and it's a gotcha. I don't trust her and her family who have decided this behind his back. Probably since they got engaged over 13 years ago. They have no other plan. For them, it's been settled all these years. So they'll be coaching her to bring him to heel via gaslighting and manipulation. Not the a-hole. Still worth a conversation if only to eliminate the "we've never really talked about it" dodge. Get this thing fully on record. And ambiguously and equivocally, if it's here, I'm not. Make your choices accordingly.